They give you a camping spot, place to put your trailer, and they supply water and electricity and hookups. And for that, you work 3 days a week giving back to the refuge.
To get out in the morning just as the sun is coming up to walk your dog and knowing that you're one of 4 to 6 people out in this 20-some thousand acres of wilderness seeing that sunrise, it is amazing.
Welcome to our channel. I'm Jill. My partner is Charles, and we are volunteering on Kofa National Wildlife Refuge in Arizona this winter. We are making an entire series of videos about our experiences boondocking or dry camping out here on the refuge itself and doing outdoor chores. But we are not the only volunteers at the Southwestern Arizona National Wildlife Refuge complex. The office for the complex is in Yuma, Arizona. That's the office that we work out of, although it is 65 miles away from our camping spot on the refuge. There are 2 other wildlife refuges in the complex. One of them is called Cibola, and the other is Imperial. Both of those are on the border of Arizona and California. There are volunteers at all 3 refuges and at the complex office. We're talking about resident RV volunteers, sometimes known as work campers. If you're watching this video, you may be interested in work camping in general or in some of these positions in particular. So we're going to take you to meet some of the volunteers and find out what their experiences look like out here.
Hello, my name is Paul. Me and my wife do work camping. My wife works mornings and I work in the afternoons. Answering phones, greeting people when they come in and have questions about the different refuges, sometimes help out with some other tasks, cleaning and stuff like that. We do receive a free campsite, a free RV resort across the road, and we get that and our utilities paid.
My name's Lynette, and this is Mark, and we are at Cibola National Wildlife Refuge. I am working mostly in the visitor center, answering people's questions.
I am helping out in the field, fixing up things and clearing trails.
There's 3 other volunteers here.
There are additional local volunteers.
They give you a camping spot, place to put your trailer, and they supply water and electricity and hookups. And for that, you work 3 days a week giving back to the refuge.
I started out looking around the refuge and seeing what I thought needed to be done. And from that, I spent 2 days clearing some of the nature trails. Here, we're doing things like putting up signs, keeping an eye on the refuge, and yes, we're occasionally cleaning out restrooms as well. So.
And the refuge has a huge list of upkeeping or things that need to be upkeep, and they don't have the manpower to do it. So during our stay here with the other volunteers, we hope to take that list and get a lot of that marked off.
We are at Imperial National Wildlife Refuge just north of Yuma, Arizona. My name is Amy. This is my husband Mike, and we are work campers or resident volunteers here.
My name's Anita. I'm a retired wildlife biologist, and now I'm a volunteer here at Imperial National Wildlife Refuge. I man the desk, I take care of the trails, I lead the astronomy and the birdwalk programs. Getting people outside, maybe getting them to do things that they wouldn't normally do otherwise, being a resource for them.
There are 4 of us, and we have a small RV park where we've put all of our rigs. We have a kitchenette, we have a laundry room.
Get up, walk the dog in the morning, and one of us walks out to the front gate with the dog, opens the gate, come here, open up the building. We've got 2 fish tanks with endangered fish in them, so we feed the fish, and vacuum, clean bathrooms, wait for people.
Yeah, we educate ourselves on the refuge. So when people come in and they ask questions, we can answer them intelligently, or at least know where to go to find the answers. We're trying to do some programming, outreach. We've contacted Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts. We've been in touch with the Yuma Proving Ground, the Marine Corps Air Base. All of those people have families who are looking for free activities, guided bird watching, guided hikes, moonlight hikes.
So you end up with a sort of mini community for the time that you're here. So that makes it really nice. It tends to be quiet at night. You know, you don't have the big crowds.
Pretty unique, pretty amazing. We're very spoiled to get out in the morning just as the sun is coming up to walk your dog and knowing that you're one of 4 to 6 people out in this 20-some thousand acres of wilderness seeing that sunrise. It's amazing. It is amazing.
This particular refuge is very dog friendly. So I know I have a dog, so we can walk the dogs on the trails here. Some places you're more restricted where you can take your animals. So that's worked out really nice for the dog. Charlie really likes the fact that he doesn't just have to walk on the road around the campground.
Part of the program here is geared at providing corn for the wildlife. 2 times a week they mow down another section of corn, and that trips off a huge feeding frenzy. So you get there at the right time, and there are birds, geese, sandhill cranes everywhere, even large flocks of mourning doves. I've never seen mourning doves flock in numbers of hundreds and so forth. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
When we first started, for about the first year and a half, me and my wife, we pretty much worked exclusively with RV parks. My wife would work in the office, taking people's reservations and stuff like that, checking them in, checking them out. I would work out maintenance, light electrical, plumbing, yard work, mowing, trimming, and stuff like that. We did that for about a year and a half, and we kind of got tired of it, so we started to explore other opportunities to work camp. And since then, we have worked at an amusement park up in Iowa. We were ride operators.
Our first gig was with the National Wildlife Refuge in Santee, South Carolina. We worked there for the winter. Then Mike worked at Loud Thunder Forest Preserve last summer as a campground host.
I volunteer mostly in national wildlife refuges, national parks, and state parks. Because I'm a retired wildlife biologist and I have some other GIS graphic skills, it gives me a broader base. It also helps me because I'm solo. Most places tend to want couples because they have limited space for RVs, so they want a twofer, not a one-fer. But if you have additional skills that can be easily translated into that location, it makes you much more likely to get picked up. Even in a situation where they may be tight on space, they may see you as more valuable because you can do other things. I don't do camp hosting because that's a different level of patience that I don't have. It's one thing to answer the same question every day 500 times at a visitor center, but you're winding people up to have them go outside and have a good time. I can do that all day. Dealing with a 40-year-old who doesn't understand a 4x8 sign that says turn your generator off at 9 o'clock, I don't have that patience. Someone else might, but it's not me. So I don't do campground hosting because I know it's just not a good fit for me. This is more of a teaching education role, and I'm much better suited to that.
The amusement park was fun. We've also worked the sugar beet harvest up in northern Minnesota. Hard and long hours. We were working 12-hour shifts, but the season was only for about 2 weeks. So you put in a lot of hours, but you get done within 2 weeks. We drove a truck. We hooked up with a local farmer. In that there's other opportunities besides driving a truck, working in the processing plant, in the piling stations is what they call them. A lot of opportunities there. We just happened to hook up with a farmer pulling the beets from the field, taking them to the piling stations. You didn't have much time except to work, eat, and sleep, and that was it.
I am a 30-year veteran of Fish and Wildlife Agency, the State Fish and Wildlife Agency. When I retired, I started volunteering as a local volunteer for the Kofa National Wildlife Refuge in Puget Sound.
And then last year we went to Santa Ana National Wildlife Refuge and we were the tram drivers. So we drove the tram around and gave information about the animals and the history.
What I really like about volunteering is that I can land in a place and really immerse myself in the community and the landscape and the region and really get to know it and call it home. And I learned so much about it versus staying for 2 weeks or 3 weeks here and there or a few nights at a campground and moving on. This is home for us right now. So we're learning about it and we're embracing all that's amazing about it and understanding what sometimes isn't amazing about it, but we're going to take that with us. And it's an experience that we really can't get any other way, at least not in a cost-effective way.
We've seen different parts of the country. We would get to experience different cultures. We were kind of sheltered from Southwest Missouri. That's basically all we knew. It's been very interesting to see how other parts of the country, how people live, how they react to certain things, just their culture in the different parts of the country, and we've really enjoyed it so far.
The animals, the birds, exploring the area, learning the towns.
You often look out over the valley here in the morning, and often any time of the day you may see a flock of about 1,000 snow geese flying around.
And I would add that he's an avid birder, so we enjoy visiting different refuges to find birds. And so the refuge purpose, is to help those birds. This is a overwintering spot for a lot of the birds on the Pacific Flyway. So this is help take care of them now so that they can come back next year after having gone up and raised babies. So
Whenever you're in a refuge, generally you're the only one that's allowed to camp. There's a few exceptions, but most of the time it's just you and the other volunteers. We tend to have really nice sites, or we're in the housing area with the rest of the rangers or in staff that live with the park. So you end up with a sort of mini community for the time that you're here.
We do our work camping, and we try to do a minimum of 3 months wherever we're at. And that way, when we park, we can sit in an area for 3 months, do whatever is required of us as far as the volunteer, the work hours and stuff. We're able to visit and see more local things that most people don't if they're only there for a week or so. The local restaurants and the local places to go.
and it's great to wake up in the morning and you open the door and you hear the sandhill cranes calling and you get to see stuff that you don't normally see on a refuge. So that's nice to see too.
It's always nice to be at a location like this that's got other sites around it. I've always wanted to see the Salton Sea. From here, we're 3 hours away, so I got to go take a look at it. It just works out as a good home base for other short day trip opportunities.
Yeah, we've been to Vegas. We're within driving distance of Death Valley. We've gone past Joshua Tree. We're on our way to Los Angeles this weekend. There's just some really amazing things to see in this area, and having this base to always come back to and ground ourselves. It's perfect.
So since we've been here in Yuma, we've seen the water tower lighting for Christmas. We've been to a tamale festival just south of here, which was enjoyable. So we get to do some of the stuff that the locals do and see some of the more non-touristy things that happen in the different places that we've gone to.
You're probably not going to get your first choice if you want to go to Yellowstone or Glacier or one of those, what are considered like the Big 5 or Big 10 parks. Don't be disappointed if you don't get it your first shot. Don't be afraid to go to some of the smaller parks, the smaller refuges, the more isolated places, because that's where you can build your resume that helps you get into the places that you want to go.
I would say if you're interested in volunteering, for the Fish and Wildlife Service in such a manner. You need the equipment and the time. You also need to be engaged to the agency's mission and the specific mission of the refuge you go to.
And be flexible, because every refuge is different, and what you think you might be doing might not be what you end up doing. So there's, just be flexible and enjoy your time. And
Be flexible, semper gumby. Things don't always go the way you plan. Things happen. You need to be able to adjust on the fly.
I will share that I'm partial to government-run agencies, be that a state agency, a county agency, or a federal agency. My preference for those jobs, even though they're volunteer, so they're not really work camping, we're working in exchange for a full hookup and a place to park. My preference for those is because camping is oftentimes limited, so we're not having to worry about seasonal disputes amongst seasonal campers. Who moved the firewood, who trashed the bathroom, too much bathroom cleaning, dealing with difficult people who are maybe drinking at night, and all of those things that might come with a typical for-profit campground. So if you're not into that scene and you don't need to make the money, if you can, manage your finances and budget so that you can volunteer in exchange for the hookup, I would encourage you to visit volunteer.gov, because that is where all of the agencies like the Forest Service, the Wildlife Refuges, the National Parks, Army Corps of Engineers, where they post their volunteer needs. And some of them don't need resident volunteers based on where they are, but an awful lot of them do. And if you're already nomadic and self-contained in your RV and you fit, that's another thing to consider. We're really big. We have a 43-foot fifth wheel. We don't fit in a lot of national parks. But if you can, and if you don't need to make cash as a work camper, I would really encourage you to look at the government agencies.